Hey guys, my name is Tom from Amped Airsoft, and this is going to be another installment into our FCU video series. So today we're going to be going over a very common FCU on the market, which is going to be the Wolverine Premium FCU. Now, this is going to generally come with most Infernos that you are getting. When you buy an Inferno, it's probably going to come with this FCU unless you get the Spartan Edition. We will be going over the Spartan Edition as well, but we'll get into that in a separate video. We'll just hop right into it. Like I said, this FCU is going to be the one that comes with any electronic Inferno unless it's a Spartan Edition Inferno. But this is pretty much going to be the default one you get. This is a fairly easy one to use. It's not that complicated. This is actually the newer version. They used to have the two little dials over here that would control dwell and rate of fire. Now you have a few different settings here that you can control. To go over it briefly, you have these two buttons here. This one button here, one button here. You have these light indicators here. You have another light indicator right here. You have a switch right here to change different settings modes. And then you have your wire harness port right here and your battery port right here. Getting into some common issues with this unit, there's not really a lot that you're going to have to be worried about because this is only made for single solenoid units. Unlike the Polarstar FCU, which is made for single solenoid and dual solenoid units, you don't really have to check what firmware you're in because it's only really set up for one type of solenoid units. This is, like I said, this is a fairly simple unit. One of the only major issues I have noticed when having to troubleshoot with functionality of your units or your gun or whatever you have it installed into is your dwell. And I will get into that issue when we go over the dwell because it has to do with the stock settings. Mainly, the dwell that this comes with is set quite low, and oftentimes when you install it the first time, you need to turn the dwell up for your application. It's set, I feel, a little bit too low from the factory for most installs, but that is about the only major issue that I've come across. And again, that's just a setting. You just change a setting. It's not like it's broken or anything. You just, sometimes when you install them, that's something to keep aware of. So again, very simple unit. I'm just going to dive right into it. We're going to start with plugging in the battery. So grab your HPA battery and you're just going to plug it into your port. Okay, now I plugged it in and nothing has happened on here. There are light indicators all over this side of the board, but because I just plugged it in, it doesn't think I want to tune anything. To enter programming mode on this FCU, what you're going to do is you're going to hold down this button and this button simultaneously for about 5 seconds. After 5 seconds, you're going to let both buttons go at the same time, and you will see lights start to light up on the side here, and either a green or red light start to light up right here. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to hold down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now I have a blinking light and a green light. The other thing I want to check is to see what position this switch is in. So the two main indicators that I'm going to be looking for are what color is this LED and what position is this switch in. The really nice part about this FCU also is that everything you need to know to program this FCU is written out right here in this giant text bubble. So what we're going to check first is what position is this in? It's in the up position. And based off of what is written right here, I'm now in dwell/rate of fire programming settings. And the way that I can tell if I'm in dwell or rate of fire is based on the color of the LED. The LED is colored green currently, which is how it comes from factory. Because it is green, that means I am in the dwell tuning setting. So you do a quick press of both buttons, don't hold it down, and it'll change into the red setting for the switch position. And since again, this is in the up position, this being red indicates that I am now in the rate of fire programming mode. Okay, so we're going to go back to dwell. Again, I'm going to do a quick press just to get back to dwell. It is now green, and you'll see a flashing light. We're going to go over what flashing, solid, and a stack of lights means here. If I want to adjust my dwell, there's a plus and a minus for each of these buttons. Plus means I'm going to increase my dwell, minus means I'm going to decrease my dwell. I'll go over what dwell is in a second here. But I do want to show you how this does change as you increase and decrease dwell. So I'm going to press this up all the way. And you're going to notice that there are now a solid light, and now there's blinking lights. They're blinking faster. They're now solid light. We now have another solid light. And we just keep going through it until we start having blinking again. And as you can see, this is stacking as well. So as we go through this, and we go all the way up, and now we're all the way back down, a empty light is going to basically indicate that there's still more that can be added to that cell of lights. So you can still increase the number. If I press that button once, now we're going to have a slowly blinking light. Press it one more time, I'm going to have a fast blinking light, and press it one more time, and now it's going to be a solid light, which means I've reached the max value for that cell. So there's 3 levels for each of these lights, okay? And once this is completely maxed out, that is your maximum setting for any of these settings here, whether that be dwell, rate of fire, or anything else. There are different values for the lights blinking and different values for the different cells that are lit up depending on what setting you're in. You can find all that information written on the FCU itself. Again, now I'm at max dwell. If I go one click higher, I'm now at the very lowest dwell setting. And what I was talking about earlier with troubleshooting, generally speaking, your dwell, when it comes from factory, is set right about there. So this is like 6 up from the lowest dwell setting. From talking with them, I believe the reason it comes that way is because they are trying to get more efficiency out of your setup right when you start it out. But for some builds, you need a little bit more air, and so turning the dwell up is needed. So that's how you do that on here. So now we're going to go into rate of fire, and it's going to be exact same as dwell. Remember to hit both buttons at the same time. Okay, now it's red. Cool. Look at that. And you'll notice when I change the settings that the lights are also different than what I had at dwell. That is because the rate of fire changes independently of the dwell. If you read on here, the rate of fire, 1 RPS each step. So the minimum is going to be 1 RPS, the maximum is going to be 64. So if I'm all the way down here, that is 1 round per second. And if I go down and go to the max, that's 64 rounds per second. All the way maxed, solid lights, that's as high as you can go with rate of fire. Rate of fire is pretty simple. Now what we're going to do is we are going to talk about semi burst and your select fire burst or your full auto burst. The burst modes are written in the very middle here. The only thing that you need to do to change is you just need to push the switch from the up position, which will be the dwell and rate of fire position again, and push it down into the semi-burst or the select burst / full auto burst. Select and full auto are going to be used interchangeably here. If you'll notice, it already went back to green on this LED, which indicates that I am now, going off of this map right here, I am in burst semi. So that is going to control how many BBs fire in semi. And these are going to be controlled by what position the light is in. So if you notice, as I go up, unlike with dwell and rate of fire, this bar is not getting more solid. These lights are just solid because all I'm doing is changing the setting that determines how many BBs are coming out. With 1 light, it's in semi, 2 lights, 2 round burst, 3 lights, or the 3rd level, it's going to be 3 round burst, 4th level is going to be 5 round burst, 5th level is going to be 7 round burst, and 6th level is going to be auto. And then the 7th and final level is going to be a 2-second delay. That is going to be for you guys who are trying to run DMR or something like that. So the cool part is that if you want to semi-lock electronically on your DMR, what you would do is you would have your green button set to semi, which is going to be the first light on the lowest level. Then you're going to quickly change to full auto. And if you notice, the green light is now changed to red, which means I'm in select burst fire mode or full auto burst fire mode. And it's at the 6th position, which means it's set to full auto. That's how it comes from factory. So from the factory, this is going to be set to full auto, and the green setting is going to be set to semi, because that's how most guns from factory are going to want to be fired. If you want to change this to fire when you're in full auto mode on your gun, to any level of burst or just semi-lock it, you can then go up and down like we changed semi-auto and just rotate through those settings. So that would be semi-auto on the full auto setting. I'm gonna put that back to where it was stock. So now I'm back at the 6th position, and I'm gonna click both buttons again, get me back to green, and we're back again. That's pretty much it, guys, as far as this goes. I am gonna go over dwell a little bit to help people understand that if you guys hadn't seen our other videos, what dwell is on FCUs. So on this one, we are gonna go back to the dwell setting. You'll notice though, the last thing that I did in the upper position is rate of fire changes, so it's still set on the rate of fire mode. I am now going to double click these buttons again, hold both down for a second, and back in dwell. What is dwell? Dwell, the amount of time that the solenoid is allowed to stay open to allow air through. So if you need more air, you want to increase your dwell. So I want to press the up arrow on this FCU, or the up button, I guess I should say. And then I shall increase my dwell. And as I increase my dwell, I'm gonna allow more airflow through the solenoid, which is gonna put more air down the barrel, which is then going to put more air behind the BB, which, depending on your barrel length, can help, and in extreme cases, can hinder. Generally, you want to over volume your gun, which means you want to have a little bit more dwell than you think you need. In some certain cases where you have a very short barrel and your dwell is turned up to crazy high, you're actually going to create turbulence, which is going to create inconsistencies with how your BB fires. So what you do want to do is program this a little bit, fire a few shots, get your grouping good, make sure everything's working properly, and then either turn it up one or down one, whether you want to over volume or you want to be a little bit more efficient with your air. You should be shooting while tuning your dwell just to make sure that you can clearly see that your consistency is getting better. If you're noticing that you're turning your dwell up and your consistency gets worse, just turn it back down. If you're noticing that you have really bad consistency, you might want to start with turning it up, especially on this FCU because it comes so low. But that's a basic understanding of dwell and how it functions on this unit. Again, this unit is only for the single solenoid units coming from Wolverine. It's not really compatible with a lot of other units. I do believe that there are some units, some third-party units that can use this FCU, but they're not really designed for that. And this FCU really was not designed to be used with those other units, like some other third-party FCUs we'll be going over in other videos. But that's basically it, guys. I hope that was helpful for you. If you guys are liking these videos, these FCU overview videos, if you think we missed anything, please comment down below. If you guys would like to see a certain FCU that we haven't covered yet, or that we have covered and we didn't cover everything you needed, please comment down below. We really do need your feedback. We really want to make this as educational as we can for you guys. That way you guys can come back to a video and have as many questions answered in one video. Thank you guys for watching. Again, I'm Tom from Amped Airsoft, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Thanks.